Okay, today I want to talk to you about pelvis positioning when you have a weak, deep core. So many of you are following me because you have a weak, deep core as a result of pregnancy. The muscles were very stretched out when we were pregnant, and now we have these lengthened, weak muscles. So these muscles that I really like to focus on is which I talked about last time, the transverse abdominis. We talked about the transverse abdominis the last time I did a live here on Facebook, and you'll probably see this on YouTube or some other platform. But we talked about the transverse abdominis. Now, the transverse abdominis is a stability muscle that holds you upright so that you don't fall over, okay? So when that muscle is weak because of pregnancy, your body is still going to try to keep you upright. And how does it do that? So there are different ways. One thing that your body will do so that you don't fall over when those deep core muscles that hold you upright are weak is clench the glutes. Clenching the glutes, tightening the hip flexor. So you might find that you have some tightness in your glutes. You might find that you have tightness in your hips, and that could be because they're trying to compensate for that weak, deep core. Okay, and here's some postures that I often notice with moms who have a weak, deep core. One thing that you'll find, and this is something that I've been guilty of, I'm a recovering anterior pelvic tilt girl. I don't know how to call that. Like twerking your butt out. I don't know if you've ever seen people that walk around and their butt is kind of out a little bit as they're walking. But you can kind of imagine that if your deep core is weak, you've got this kind of anterior pelvic tilt. And that's where your butt is kind of sticking out and your belly is kind of, boom, just kind of hanging out there. You might see that lower belly pudge that hangs out, okay? And so with those weak core muscles, that's kind of what happens. Another thing that can happen is a posterior pelvic tilt. You're trying to stay upright, and so you're clenching the glutes and holding yourself this way. So you might see moms who kind of hunch over like that, and they're squeezing their glutes that way, okay? How do you find neutral pelvis? How do you know if you're posterior pelvic tilt, anterior pelvic tilt? How do you know if you're neutral? What you're going to do is you're going to put your fingertips right there on your pubic bone. Put the kind of butt of your hand at your hip bones right there in the front, and put it like kind of like a little triangle. Now that triangle, whether you're sitting like this or standing, should be flat. If the fingertips are like this and it's more forward than the top, then you have a posterior pelvic tilt. If you have it to where the top of the hands are further forward than the tip of your fingers, you have an anterior pelvic tilt, okay? So you want to kind of assess where you are. Neutral, that triangle will be flat, okay? So assess where you are, whether you have a posterior pelvic tilt or an anterior pelvic tilt. Then when you're doing my exercises, I want you to pay attention to something. One, you want to really work on that deep core, and you also may want to do other tweaks to the exercises that I show you based on whether you have a posterior pelvic tilt or an anterior pelvic tilt. So right now we're going to go into a bridge, because that's a really great exercise for either one of those situations, and also for the deep core, okay? We're going to go down into a bridge, and if you have an anterior pelvic tilt where you have this going on, you have this kind of curvature, I want you to really focus on, when you're doing your bridge exercise, rotating, using your abs to tuck your pelvis and do like a pelvic tilt. So you're going to do a pelvic tilt, but you're going to try to relax your glutes a little bit, okay? So do a pelvic tilt, but only use your abs. Try to relax your glutes for a second, okay? And then when you lift up, I want you to keep that position where you have that pelvic tilt, using your abs to hold you there, relaxing your glutes. And then I want you to bring your feet out just a little bit, okay, to really engage those hamstrings. Because what happens is these hamstrings can get weak because the hamstring is kind of stretched out because your butt is kind of torqued up this way. So these muscles even lengthen as well. So we're going to bring it this way, relax the glutes, hold that there with your lower abs. And then when you extend your feet out just a little bit, you're going to use more of your hamstrings, okay? And that's going to help with this anterior pelvic tilt. That's going to help tighten up the abs, and it's going to really help bring everything back together. And those lengthened muscles that stretch out and become that pooch will tighten back up, okay? And as you lift up into your bridge, I want you to keep that tilt and only go as far up as you can while maintaining that ab engagement here, okay? Because you don't want to come up and then tilt back this way, all right? So let's try that again. If you have an anterior pelvic tilt where you're like this, I want you to use your abs and I want you to bring it in, bring that in like this, and keep that pelvic tilt, like a posterior tilt, using your abs. And I want you to go up into that bridge and only go up as far as you can while keeping that ab engagement. When you do that, you're going to feel it on fire. You're going to feel the abs actually working now. Sometimes we're doing exercises and we're just going through the motions. You may see my exercises and you're just kind of doing them and you're up, down, and you may not be feeling it. But here's a way, especially if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, where you'll really feel it. Let's do it one more time. I want you to use your lower abs to rotate your pelvis, but relax your glutes. Only use your abs. Now I want you to keep that, hold that there, and I want you to lift only as far as you can while maintaining that engagement in your core, and you can hold it there. If that's easy for you, go ahead and lift a knee. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Okay. So the point is you really want to do your exercises with intention, okay? With intention is going to make all the difference. I don't know about you, but my core is on fire, and I only did a few of those, okay? All right, if you have any more questions, any more exercises you want me to troubleshoot, any conditions or situations with your core that you want me to troubleshoot, drop it in the comments, and I'll work on that for next week.